Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and of course I'm joined by author and economic analyst here at WAM, John Sneisen. So we've spoken before about how the Zim dollar in Zimbabwe was basically printed into oblivion. They had hyperinflation. Mugabe, well, Mugabe's Mugabe. What can we say about him? Not nice things.
He's a totalitarian leader.
Dictator, yeah. And basically they printed their currency into hyperinflation, and the citizens, the good people of Zimbabwe were the ones that suffered the most. And now we got new news from the BBC, apparently, and this is, again, the irony just piles so high here, that the Zimbabwe government has decided to start printing currency and basing it on the US dollar. And they're going to base it on, I think, what did it say, $200 million?
It's going to be backed by $200 million that comes from the Africa Export-Import Bank, which is actually a massive, bank that they have. Instead of the IMF, it's just, this is what it is for all African countries now.
So John, it just blows me away because, of course, this is, in one way, closer to the world currency that we're seeing taking place with the US dollar and the push for that. But also, why, after everything they've been through with their fiat currency crashing and the hyperinflation that they had to deal with, why are they now basing it on the US dollar? What is going on?
Well, I think they think their population is stupid, first of all. And what they're trying to implement is what's called a bond dollar. It's just another Zimbabwean dollar that's going to end up the same way. But the thing around this is, what's interesting that happened last year was that they took in a whole bunch of Zimbabwean dollars. And I used to be able to buy $100 trillion, like a lot of them, for, next to a couple of dollars. I tried to do it recently just to have more, to show people. But what happened is suddenly it was worth $50 for only 10 of them. Because what happened, listen to this interesting thing. So what happened, they're still worthless, like $50 for $100 trillion, a couple of them. Yeah. But what happened was that they gave the Zimbabwean people the chance to actually get back US dollars for their Zimbabwean dollars, and I think it was $7 you would get for 46 quadrillion dollar, I believe it was. And what's interesting is they're going to be on the game here again with a Zimbabwean dollar. And what's funny, usually what happens is, you have an empire that gets toppled with its fiat currency, but for some reason, Robert Mugabe managed to stay in power, and now he wants to implement a second fiat currency. And this is a message to all of my Zimbabwean friends. I know some of you, I remember from a competition I had, there was a lot of fake Zimbabwean people out there. Mm-hmm. I don't know, they're going to be able to be tricked once more by their crooked leader, Mr. Mugabe. I think they're going to completely fail. Yeah. And it's just another belief that you can just continue print as currency, but all that it does, it gives Mugabe power to buy a whole bunch of shit.
Base it on gold at the very least, but at least free it up for your citizens, free the markets. Look, the US dollar is inflating. I mean, they're inflating the price of living. It's devaluing. It's been devaluing since its very inception. Yeah. It was devaluing before it was a fiat US dollar, but nonetheless, the Federal Reserve prints it into oblivion, and maybe not to the extent that Zimbabwe has, but I mean, what we've seen over the last several years is the interest rates are going into negatives eventually, and the US dollar is terrible. It's not something you want to base your currency on. So, to the people of Zimbabwe, please
say no.
Overthrow Mugabe and take over the streets, overthrow him, throw him in prison at the least.
And then what you do, create a voluntarist society, so you actually give the people the power to live how they want.
You must learn from your mistakes. You people in Zimbabwe are not the problem, but you have to see the power in yourselves and take over. I know it's not the greatest place to live. It's a rough place to live.
Especially with a totalitarian regime. You could basically, if you say something against them, you just get your head chopped off or killed.
Yeah, so. And we're saying this from a country that has extremely bad economic planning itself. The problem is that it's planned. It's centrally planned, and we need to free the markets. We need to free the individual, and a big part of that is when your monetary system is completely enslaving you, when you're becoming a debt slave. what is most important is that you take over, and you as an individual take over yourself and take over your own free will and stop others from doing so, stop the government from doing so, stop the central banks from doing so. You are the one that will change things. You can't wait for others to. And don't say, well, maybe Mugabe might change. Maybe it's Mugabe. What is he, like 180? Like, okay, he has done nothing but enslave the populace. And I shouldn't laugh because a lot of people have, their lives have been ruined. They've destroyed so many lives, killed so many people, and completely destroyed the system.
Well, let's actually, since we're on it, Josh, let's just quickly talk about how Zimbabwe was back in the day versus the United States dollar. The Venezuela right now, like they illegalized using gold in Zimbabwe very quickly.
And they prohibited,
They did it in Venezuela as well. So that's the first thing they tried to prohibit because they don't want people to stop using the dollar because they initially people stopped trusting it. So now they have to force you to use it.
Yeah.
And people will still not listen to you because it's worthless. It's not buying them anything. So they would go to something that has value. And they always will. They had gasoline currency and like they literally had gasoline certificates to transfer because gasoline was important in Zimbabwe at the time when it collapsed because they had to have generators running and their cars running.
And imagine having to go to the store with a stack of money and you're like adding a little bit of water to the currency.
It wasn't a stack of money. We're talking wheelbarrows.
Oh, yeah, wheelbarrows. But they were weighing the money because they couldn't count it.
Yeah, exactly. It was so many bills that they actually just weighed them. And, this is $100 trillion bills, X amount of kilos. We'll buy this.
Yeah.
It's this insanity of hyperinflation. And now, of course, we had Venezuela not being able to even print currency because they don't have any money to print it.
Yeah, what, they don't have money for the ink or what? Yeah. Like the paper?
Probably, yeah. So this just shows you the insanity of what printing a fiat currency is.
Yeah.
And what, this is stupidity, Zimbabwe. People stand up against your idiotic leader and make a stand and make yourselves free from this enslavement.
Exactly. And again, this isn't money we're talking about. This is currency. Money must hold a store of value, and currency doesn't have to. Currency can be whatever they make it, and people fall for it. These are IOUs, and it might be a little bit better than the Zimbabwe, the Zim currency, the Zim dollar, but it's still the US dollar, and people are still going to suffer just like they are in the States. The inflation rates are rising, and interest rates are going into negatives, and you can't just print currency out of thin air and base it on faith and have no physical preserved value. This is what happens, and you have to follow the money. If you follow the money, or the currency, I should say, if you follow the currency, you will find who is controlling it. And when you find out who's controlling it, you'll see who's controlling you. Yeah. And that's the most important part.
We need helicopter money. Sorry. I just had to say it. It's an oxymoron. It's just a bit, but that's what they're talking about right now in the United States and other countries, is just like dropping literary currency on people because they want people to spend it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's time that we take our free will back. It's time that we take our individual liberties back, and that goes globally because this is a global agenda to basically enslave everyone in debt. And it's our job as messengers to inform you, but please pass the information on. Do what you can as individuals because it comes down to you in the end. It always does. And we'll keep bringing you more of these stories as we have over the past several years, but just keep paying attention, keep sharing, and keep looking at the information that we're sharing, because all we're trying to do is making sure that you have the information to keep yourself safe in the event of economic collapse and keep your family nice and insured. And that goes for everyone around the world, because these central bankers are running rampant across the globe, and the only way that they're going to be stopped is if we understand that this is a global issue, and has nothing to do with necessarily with politicians. It has to do with the central bankers, the globalists that have taken over society from one side of the world to the other. So please heed the warning. Look at how history has proven in other countries that these kinds of policies don't work, and they never have. All paper money has always reverted to its natural state and value of zero. So pay attention to that and heed the warning, and please do whatever you can to spread that information, because if there's enough of us that know about it, there's enough of us to do something about it. So thank you, John. We'll be bringing a lot more at you. And this is Josh Sigurdson, John Sneisen, signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.